Hi guys, it's Monday and welcome to Practice Makes Prose. This week on Practice Makes Prose we're talking about writing romance. For me, I find writing romance quite a hard genre to write. I think it's because it's one of the only genres where you have to develop it. Over the story, you need to develop that relationship that the characters have, make them have a chemistry, and that can't all be done in one chapter. You could start a story off with two lovers and have them already in a relationship, but you still need to portray them in such a way that their relationship seems to be working. You need to portray it in such a way that their characters get along so well that you can see as a reader and as the writer that they work well together. I quite enjoy writing romance novels. It's something I think that I'm relatively good at because it's something that I do quite often. Writing romance has almost become like a comfort zone for me, and I'm trying to stray away from romance in the sense that I write it too often that I want to test out other genres and see whether I can get good at writing other genres as well as romance. My tip to writing a romance novel, though, would be to not have romance as the main plot line. I know that Tracy mentioned this in her last video, and I just want to impress upon you that romance as the main plot of the story just makes it a bit see-through, makes the whole story a bit see-through because you know at the end that they will get together. Also, with writing a romance novel, you need to make sure that there is a bit of conflict in there, in the sense that if the characters go through the whole story being all lovey-dovey, no one's going to want to read it because it's just a bit boring. It's not exciting because you haven't made any conflict for the characters. They're just going through the novel in love and nothing happens. Now, you may be thinking that I'm pointing the obvious out here, but I've read so many stories where nothing happens to the main lovers. Everything always happens as a subplot, and their romance seems to be the main bit of the story, and there's nothing that tests that relationship, and you just think you need something to get your teeth into. And if the relationship isn't getting tested, the subplots need to be good enough to enhance the reader's experience so that they're not going along the novel thinking, well, this is boring because nothing's happening. Another key point with writing a romance novel is that you need to make sure that your characters are actually compatible with each other. There is nothing worse than when a writer flings two characters together and says, right, they're in love, they're together. Because with some personalities, if you write the personalities right for the characters and you've got two completely different people and you're trying to shove them together, it's not going to be believable. So you really need to make sure that your characters are believable, that the relationship they have is believable, and that they are suited for each other. Again, I know that this sounds like the most obvious thing in the world, but the amount of stories you read where they put together two characters and said they're an item when they do not match at all. For example, with Twilight, they put together Edward and Bella, and yes, they are together, but for me, the story didn't click. They didn't belong together, and they were forced together throughout the whole of the Twilight saga. And that's just one of my many flaws with the Twilight saga, but it's a great example of a relationship which doesn't work. What you could do to stop this from happening is maybe do a spider diagram or a list of their likes and dislikes, and then do another list of the other characters' likes and dislikes and see where they interlink, see how they fit together and work from there, because if they fit together in some attributes, then they're more likely to be believable. No one has 100% the same interests, so if you put them with the same interests, they wouldn't be believable. But if they had some differences, it would be better. Anyway, they're just a few hints and tips on how I would go about writing romance. Let us know in the comments down below if you have any tips on writing romance. Don't forget to check back on Wednesday for Ali's video and on Friday for Tracy's video, where we'll be talking about writing sci-fi, which I'm actually quite excited about because I really like sci-fi. But until then, practice makes pros.